Good evening and welcome to Light Code Portal Podcast. My name is Natasha Ovai and I'm the Director of Ambassadors Department at the Light Language University, and I'll be your hostess tonight. I'm here with Anna Noyce, the founder of Light Language University, and our topic tonight is twilighting. Twilighting is so exciting for me. I can't wait to talk about it with Anna. And no, I'm not talking about going out and getting a second job or your favorite vampire movie. Uh, it is a unique term and it's unique to the Light Language University. And I'm super excited to chat with you guys and share this information. And before we begin, though, I want to go ahead and give you a little information about the university logo and our mission statement. The triangle represents the mind, body, and spirit. The circles represent dimensions and us being multidimensional beings. The golden phoenix represents the human being rising up from the ashes in the old Piscean age into the new age of Aquarius. The small triangle represents the shift that is happening on the planet where all of us are ascending into consciousness of the heart chakra, out of love in the Aquarian age and out of the solar plexus that rules the Piscean age. Now, our mission is to inspire others who are awakening to aid imminent growth of the conscious awareness of being multidimensional. So, our topic tonight is twilighting. And good evening, Anna. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening, doing well. And Twilight is so much fun. So I'm glad we're going to speak on this tonight.
I'm so excited about it. So, let's jump right in. What is twilighting? I'm curious.
So Twilight, as you said, is kind of unique to the light language. This so as far as the word is, but every human being does it. So just before you fall asleep and just before you wake up, we as multidimensional beings have one foot in the physical realm and one foot in the spirit realm. And that sweet spot, because when you're laying there and you're just about to fall asleep, you can hear everything that's going on around you. You know what's happening, but you're not quite asleep, but you're not quite awake. And this is a good time to learn to meditate and practice holding that space.
Wonderful. So, I'm curious, what is the difference between meditation and twilighting? What's the difference?
Well, yes. So actually, there's not a difference. They're actually the same thing. But meditation is something where people will sit and they'll spend hours working and getting into that theta brain, that space. Whereas Twilight, we do it. Every human being does it. And this is a good place to heal. This is a good place to learn to speak to your angels and guides. A good place to clear your mind and hold, because as you're going into the other world, on those other dimensions as a spirit to make that connection, it's great. And you can bring in information back. So yes, it is the same as meditation.
Awesome. I've always wondered about that. So, why would someone want to practice twilighting?
Well, again, it's another place you can heal. So when you're in that sweet spot and you're bringing that energy or the higher frequencies in, it's a kind of a bridge. So if you're looking at the chakras, and we have the heart is kind of that bridge between the higher realms, and then the lower realms that ground us in the physical plane. Twilight is exactly like that. It is the heart, and it holds that space. So if you're healing and you can hold that meditation, or you can quiet the mind and you can hold that space, you can heal. It helps to heal. It brings energy into the body. It helps bring oxygen through the blood and keeps you balanced as well. So yeah, it's a
Beautiful
way.
light you're talking about all the time, right?
Yeah, yes.
And that healing light.
Mhm.
All right. So then, how do I know when I'm twilighting? How can you be certain that that's happening?
So I have a question for you. Since you're actually started studying with us and you're doing the workshops and wonderful, and we're so excited to have you. How do you know when you're in twilighting? What's been your experience?
So for me, I feel like I get like this little warm, tingly, and floating sensation. Not quite all the way conscious. Like I feel like I might be almost asleep, but not quite. I've even had times when I like feel like I'm falling or I drop. I've had that happen before too. Um, Trying to think. That's pretty much what happens to me. I might have like a little foggy glow to the surrounding that I'm looking at. Yeah.
And for me, I feel something in my head. So I feel like almost a sensation in my third eye, or I feel something in the back of my head. And I know when I've hit that space. And it's really important, yeah, to hold that space and bring that energy in. Because we forget when we're sleeping, it's allowing the body to take a break. Our spirit, our souls are so empowered with all this beautiful because we tire these bodies out. They're not used to holding that energy all the time. So when we sleep, we actually astral project or we move our consciousness outside of the body and have those experiences on the other side and of the veil, you might say. But what's really important is it allows the body to do what it needs to do to readjust, to heal itself, to get the rest. And then when we come back, the spirit comes back into the body completely and the body starts to you wake up and you're able to have your daily life. However, that works.
So it's unique for everyone. Every person's different. Then my experience and your experience can be totally different.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's I think when you ask the question, like you said, it's going to be different for each person their experience, but every human being does it. Not a person on the planet or an animal, they don't do it because that's the bridge of us moving back into spirit.
That's so interesting. I never thought about animals meditating and twilighting. That's such a cool concept. Makes me wonder what they're thinking about when they're doing that. You know, like what they're twilighting about. That's so awesome.
Well, and I don't think that they look at it like we do, where with meditation, but they're actually, if you think of an animal that's hunting, it's in the zone, it's in that space. And for us, it's a violence. We think about it, it's violent, right? But for them, it's when they've mastered, they can see, they can feel, they know what's happening, not only in the physical body, but also all around them. The same thing can happen for us when we're in that space of twilight and you practice, you can actually be aware of everything, your whole environment around you and what's happening. And you can also astral project if you want to. You can work with class. This is a great place to work with your guides or your angels and have classes. You can have full classes with them and bring that knowledge back into the physical brain. I mean, it's fascinating. And again, the same thing with meditation. You probably I'm sure you've had experiences where you've astral projected or you run that meditation and you get this information that's amazing from that higher self.
Yeah, download like a quick, oh my goodness, what just happened? Yes, that's definitely happened to me before. I'm
And
curious, so you were mentioning all kinds of different senses. So like you mentioned being able to hear and see, and so if I'm in twilight, is any is anything like possible with my senses? Like can I do anything? Can I even taste something?
if you're aware of it, yes, you can. You can bring that energy in. So, yes.
That's so awesome. I can't wait
And,
to check to find that little niche for myself. That's so exciting.
well, and so what has been your experience when you're twilighting as far as that?
So for me, like I can remember one experience that I had was one of my very first experiences actually was when I was brought to a big tree. And I remember it was my spot, man. I just knew that I've been there before. And it was a big giant tree and it went as far as I could see. And I remember sitting underneath it, sitting in Indian style, just enjoying the breeze. I could hear the ocean and I could feel the grass under my skin. I could feel all of that. And then I remember a child coming up to me and just talking to me and giving me information. And it was just such a wonderful experience. They were basically introducing themselves to me as my guide. And I found out later that that was my sister. And she's passed on. She's on the other side now. So it's just so interesting how every experience is different. I find that every time I twilight or meditate, that experience is totally different. So it's so interesting to me that you can taste because I haven't had that experience yet. So I'm really excited about that. I might have to talk to my guides about that before I go to sleep at night and be like, "Hey, let me taste some cookies," or just to try something new, right?
Yes, well, and the reason we call it twilight is because it's just before the dawn, or it's before the morning when you wake up. So it's in that darker light. So it's in the kind of like the heart space. But also, I love your story because it mentions how, if you think about it, how connected you feel. You feel connected to everything and everything's connected. It's not quite oneness, but it's that next step before you open up and go into the higher parts of ourselves, our anatomy, and then hit the oneness where we're a part of everything. But you are connected to everything and you're aware of it on the multi levels of the physical and even the intuitive levels.
It's so fun. I just one other question I have. So when you're twilighting, you can twilight anytime, right? So if you're going to sleep or waking up, right? You can twilight just about any time of day. And and what is it like to hold those two levels of consciousness? Like,
So I guess what you're asking in your question is what is it like to hold those two levels of consciousness when during the day or in the evening? Because you can do it both. So when you start practicing, and the reason we ask people to our students, we teach them to do it because that's the sweet spot is doing it at as they're going to sleep or when they're waking up because you're going to do it anyway, but to hold it. And I remember the first couple of times that I did it, I would fall asleep. I'd say, "Oh, this is it," and then I'd be gone. Or I'd wake up and I'm like, "Oh, this is it," and I'd be gone. So it took me, you have to practice. And I practiced and practiced, and now I can hold it for a couple hours. I can get up in the middle of the night, go get a drink of water, come back to bed, and go straight into twilight. But I can also do it during the day. And it makes it interesting because when you're sitting, you can be at a fair, and we're about to go into a conference and fair pretty soon. But it's really neat to be sitting there with people around you and go into that twilight state. Now you don't have to close your eyes, you don't have to snore, but you go into that state where you are aware of everything around you and you're connected to everything and you're seeing the rhythms and the colors and the expressions and the energy that's happening and the beings that are coming in to support us because as you know we're not alone. We have these beautiful beings that are helping us and for our highest good, and it's just a wonderful state to hold that. And especially if you're reading for somebody, readers will actually put themselves in that twilight state to get the information. So they're doing it as they're reading right there in front of you when they're pulling that energy in and connecting to everything. But imagine going out and if you had a crop or something, or you're working with trees or animals. And my father taught me this on the ranch to be aware of the animals around us, the snakes that are, on the ranch, to be aware of the horses, the cattle, the bull that's in the pen, because you want to be careful of the bull, the pigs, the chickens. You want to connect the dogs, the cats. You want to know where everything is and what their energy is, so you're not, messing up. I like to mess up my hair, messing up everything around the energy around, but actually blending in to that environment, which is why I brought up earlier how animals, when they hunt, they go into the twilight, they go into the blending and they know what's all around them.
wow, that's so awesome. That just makes me tingle inside. Very exciting. So are kids better at twilighting? Are children better at twilighting than we are as adults?
Good question. So I'm going to ask you that question. What do you think?
I would say yes, because they have such creative minds and a little more. They're not so like guarded, right? They have a much more big imaginations. Like that's probably why they have imaginary, imaginary friends and a lot more going on in their creative minds. So I would think yes, but why is that? I wonder, is that the only reason why, or is there anything about the brain chemistry that would make that any different for them?
Well, and it goes back to as we become saturated with the 3D and more enamored with the 3D and excited about the 3D that we leave that spirit energy behind. So with children, babies are connected. I love it when you're watching babies and they're seeing angels and they're seeing beings walking around and they're smiling or giggling because grandma's come back to play with them. But we're we're going, what are they doing? Or an animal. Have you ever been where an animal's looking at something in the corner and you're like, what are
Yeah.
they looking at? You know?
Playing with an imaginary friend in the corner too. Yeah, absolutely. So
Exactly.
I'm curious, we have a listener question. So would twilighting during the day be the same as like daydreaming, or is that different?
Oh, good question. It is on the verge, yes, because it's the window of daydreaming. So there's alpha brain. Twilight's just a little bit deeper. So we have beta brain when we're awake, and right now we're being conscious and we're having this conversation. Then we have that alpha brain where we're driving, and that's more like daydreaming. So if you think about when you're driving, a lot of us, if I were to drive in beta, I would forget how to drive.
Zone out, right?
Exactly, because my higher self knows how to do it. So you go to a red light, the red light, you see it, and you drive past it. And later on, you don't remember even passing the red light. Somehow you've missed it. That is the alpha brain. The theta brain's just a little bit more deeper. It is just almost, it's like in the trance, and we call that trance brain or the part where you're hypnotized. You can be hypnotized. It's and it kind of it can make you dizzy. It can almost the energy can kind of make you dizzy or give you a little bit, of unbalance until you're able to hold it and steady it and bring it in.
I
So
can't wait to be able to harness that a little longer because mine are very short right now. I can meditate for long periods, but that theta brain, like where I kind of push over into that twilight, I haven't quite mastered that yet. So, what tips do you have other than practice? Is there any other tips?
well, our the shamans are the medicine, they use the drum medicine. So they beat the drum and we go into you can go to a concert and go into twilight.
Wow.
You can go into that deep meditation. So it's just a little bit beyond that daydreaming. Or you can do breathing. A lot of people will do deep breathing.
What about drawing or coloring? Would that
Absolutely.
be?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can go in. And again, there's that it's just a little deeper than the alpha brain.
How exciting. So that brings me to another question. Do people twilight in color or is it just black and white?
So that question kind of goes to do people dream in color or is it black and white?
See, I know I dream in color. I'm wondering if that's unique to each person. Is that something that everybody's a little different if you ask that question again?
I think that I and let me ask, and they're saying yes, it is unique to each person. It's how they filter that and what they see from their own filter. So yes, it is unique. But everything is accessible to anyone. So yes, it can be in color if that person chooses to flip that switch in Twilight and move forward. But you also think about people who come in that are blind and they can't see, right? So here they can't see, but yet their third eye opens up and they can actually see the color blue. I mean, how do you see the color blue if you can't see it?
That's amazing.
How do you experience? And I think we just had a workshop and we talked about colors, but some people hear colors, some people experience colors on a different frequency than just seeing.
Yes. So, like, I hear sound when I see colors, depending on what I'm doing. And, like, if I meditate or twilight, the few times I've actually gotten into that theta brain, I definitely hear that color, especially when I'm balancing my chakras. So,
Beautiful.
so fun.
So what you're talking about is a dimension we're talking about a parallel dimension when we do that. And when we tap into that, so going back to your question, is when we tap into that parallel dimension, it's how we experience it. So it may be black and white, it may be in color, but also we can use those other senses, and it's not always the same as the third dimension, if that makes
Wow.
sense.
Yeah. That's exciting. I have another viewer question, which I love those questions, so keep sending them. So the theta state is where we need to be in twilight. Is that right?
That yes, that's where you want to hit that twilight just before you're about to, like you said, you felt like you're going to fall. So it's very close to before you fall, but you don't fall. And there something happens with the chemistry of the brain, but it also connects you where your spirit also connects. So you're holding the spirit, if that makes sense. You're holding the spirit in the physical before it starts to go into the spirit brain.
I'm
So
curious, is that the same thing as when we're talking in our sleep, or we hear ourselves talk, or we hear ourselves like snore, or you know what I mean? Like we're in that light sleep. Could that be also
yeah,
a side effect of being in the twilight stage?
yes, yes. Just in astral projecting, when we hit that astral, it's just before you leave, because then you separate from the physical body, and then you're looking at your, if you're conscious, you're looking at your physical body, but you're here in the spirit brain. So it needs to be where the two connect.
Wow, that's so incredible. I think that we've reached the last of our questions. I believe I got all of them. So let me go ahead and say thank you so much, Anna. Tonight has been awesome. I have learned so much from you, and I look forward to our next Light Code Portal podcast. It'll be on Wednesday the 6th at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we're doing protection, guys. So I hope you will join us for that. Should be a really interesting topic, and I can't wait to see some of the questions that come out of that one. And most of all, the answers that Anna gives us and graces us with. It should be good. I also want to thank all of our listeners and all the people that are watching today. I want to say thank you for joining us. We couldn't do it without you, so I really appreciate you watching it. If you are, be sure to like us and share it with your friends. And if you have any additional questions after this that we didn't get to, or you didn't want to post right away, you can always add those to the comments and we promise to answer them. I want to share with you guys some really exciting upcoming events that we have going on in April. So April is when it is, April 2nd and 3rd. If you want to join us, we will be in Grapevine, Texas at the Wellness Expo. We are super excited to be hosting the Light Language, Mind, Body, and Spirit speaker panels with some exciting topics, which include what we know about death, which I'm super excited about because I have so many questions around death. We will also be doing vibrational medicine, mediumship, and devices that aid in wellness. We have some really awesome panelists that will be there answering those questions. You should really come and check it out. We do have free tickets for those. So if you're interested in getting free tickets to join us, be sure to reach out. You can either post in the comments down below and we'll get in touch with you. Or of course, you can message us through Messenger. We also have email on our website. If you're interested in taking a workshop with us, but you're not real sure yet, or you haven't quite decided how you feel about it, we are offering a free new to all this class that will be at the Wellness Expo. In addition to our speaker panels, you should definitely join us for that. It is totally free. Normally we charge for those virtual classes online. So if you can't make it to the expo, that's okay. You can still join us for a virtual one online. If you're interested in those, keep a lookout on our Facebook pages and our website. We always update every time before those classes. And you can also reach out to us through the comment section down below, or also by email, or Facebook Messenger, whatever works best for you. I also wanted to tell you guys that we will be doing a Light Language 101 workshop. It's a 2-day workshop on a weekend, and it will be held on April the 9th and 10th. And it will be virtual, so you can do it in your pajamas if you want. But be sure to join us if you want to sign up for that. Again, visit our website. I'm so grateful that you guys joined us. Again, Anna, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. And I hope to see you all next week.